May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Here.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Vree. Here.
Excellent. Trustee Vree, would you give us the financial report, please?
Yes. So as I have said pretty much every month, things are good from a financial perspective. The general fund, revenue-wise, is ahead of plan. Really, it's ahead of plan as a result of economic factors. Sales tax revenue has been better than expected, and building permits have been better than expected. So both are a function of a good economy. At the same time, expenses are also ahead of plan in that they're lower than expectation, primarily due to some personnel costs and 2 open spots within public safety. So generally speaking, the general fund is in good shape. On the water side, the water fund would be the only one that has not come in above or at plan. It's behind, and as I've mentioned before, it's been a wet year. That's just a function of the weather. Everything is in good shape from a cash perspective. There's plenty in reserve. So 3/4 of the year, we're in good shape. The one thing to note on the state level, or at the state level, they did pass an agreement to start paying the local municipalities the three taxes that they had not been reimbursing the village. That would be the motor fuel tax, the E911 tax, and the use tax. So far, we have received 4 payments from the motor fuel tax and the E911. We're still waiting on use tax, but it's been freed up, and so we're expecting those things to start coming in. So, generally speaking, 3/4 of the year, we're in good shape. The other thing the Finance Committee talked about, we began the process of reviewing the budget for fiscal 17. The department heads all came in and gave us a review of each of their departments, areas that they felt that we needed to make investment, and then other areas where we can be a little bit more efficient in the way things are run. All in, we expect that the budget will be reduced by, actually no, the budget will stay about the same from where we were last year on the revenue side, while the expense side is expected to drop just under 2%. So that's where we start. We're going through it now, and having fun.
Thank you, Trustee Vree. Which is sort of a good lead-in because, as Jonathan was saying, the Senate Bill 2039 was adopted, and as we're going through our budget process, what the state does and how the state's budget develops is a very important factor. And just as we often say certain things are happening that shouldn't be happening, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Representatives Marty Moylan and Robin Gable and Senators Dan Bisk and Julie Morris for their strong support in passing Senate Bill 2039 to restore the pass-through of our motor fuel tax, use tax, E911 tax for the foreseeable future, hopefully through at least the midpoint June of 2016. They also helped us restore the funding for IDOT and the state police to keep Eden's Expressway plowed and functioning in snow events this winter, in the event that we actually have a winter. And that was very important. So that's the good news on the state front. The bad news is that the state does not have a budget for this fiscal year ending on June 30th, 2016 yet. At our Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus meeting yesterday, we met with Senate President John Cullerton, Senate Republican Leader Christine Radonia, and House Republican Leader Jim Durkin to discuss where the current state budget talks are now. To summarize, based on what they discussed with us, bullet point 1, likely there will be no serious budget talks that will take place prior to this coming primary election, because the Democrats have a great many people running in the primary election where the Republicans don't, and so they don't want to end up reaching compromises and doing a bunch of things until they've gotten through that and they know who's been renominated. All issues remain on the table, including cutting some or all of the distributive fund for local communities and other pass-through taxes like the ones that were just restored. A property tax freeze is still also on the table, and something that we have to think about as we look at our budget. A major state income tax increase and new service tax to balance the budget remain on the table, as well as other state tax increases. And I might mention that included in that is the proposal to begin taxing for the first time in Illinois retirement fund payments. The state continues to spend more each month than it takes in, and may run out of money entirely to pay its bills between April and July of 2016, and that would have major ramifications for all of us. If it runs out of money, it is not clear that we will receive the taxes authorized in that bill through June 30th, as we have presently had authorized. So while we have made some progress in maintaining the collection of our state revenues, we are by no means out of the woods. Sadly, the state seems to be digging itself deeper into the hole with its spending beyond the income that it has each month. So I just mentioned that so that everybody understands why it is as we look at our budget for next year. We still have a lot of hurdles to overcome and a lot of questions as to whether the scenario we're going to face is one where we get the revenues the state collects on our behalf or we don't. That said, that brings us to the time for doing the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody wishes to discuss or have brought off the consent agenda? If nobody has any questions on the consent agenda, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Second?
Could I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Vree?
Yes.
That brings us to the time when we ask if there's anybody in the public that would like to address a subject that is not on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Okay. Time for the village manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are going to get started with the village manager's report with, as I always like to say, one of my favorite things to do, which is to introduce a new employee to the village board and to the village as a whole. I'm going to ask Public Safety Director Carrie Lewandowski to step forward to the podium and introduce our new Public Safety Officer, who I then get to swear in, which is also a fun thing I get to do.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Mr. President, members of the board, it's my pleasure this evening to introduce our newest public safety officer, Mr. Victor Visoki. He's joined tonight by his mother and father, Mary Ann and George, his sister Carla, his grandmother Joanne Salvey, and as a surprise guest, his father invited Victor's high school wrestling coach, Mr. James Tassi, to witness this event tonight. As a way of background, in May of 2014, Victor took the Public Safety Commission's written examination for Public Safety Officer. He placed on our eligibility list and he was hired in August of 2015. While attending college at Western Illinois University, Victor was pretty busy. He earned a bachelor's degree in law enforcement with a minor in fire administration, and he also earned a master's degree in law enforcement administration. For the past 5 years, Victor's worked for Mavis, Illinois, which is our mutual aid fire service resource provider, as an accounts administrator. He comes to us as a state certified firefighter and a licensed EMT, which will provide an opportunity for the department to reduce the time required for him to serve as a fully functional and cross-trained public safety officer. Victor's going to graduate from the 12-week police academy tomorrow from the College of DuPage, right?
Sir?
Okay. They'll start the field training program next week, and we hope to release him to solo patrol by April. From what we've seen so far, Victor's very energetic. He exhibits excellent interpersonal skills and a strong work ethic, and he's very team-oriented. We think Victor will be an excellent addition to the Department of Public Safety, and we look forward to working with him for a very long time. Victor will be taking the Public Safety Officer oath of office this evening to fill one of the vacancies created by the board when you approved the staffing level increase from 33 to 36 sworn officers last year. So at this point, Victor, congratulations and welcome to Glencoe. Thank you. Mr. Crowley will issue the oath of office. I'm going to make it easy. You can read along.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Victor Visocki,
I, Victor Visocki,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and the ordinances of the Village of Glencoe,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
the duties of the position of Public Safety Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Victor, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're joining what I consider to be the finest public safety department in the United States, and the world, actually.
Look forward to being here. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome. Next on, under the village manager's report, I'd like to introduce Carlo Cavallero, who is the village's external affairs manager with Commonwealth Edison. They're going to provide a presentation this evening on their smart meter program. Carlo.
Thanks. Actually, I just had to briefly just want to introduce myself. I took over for Jeff Tara about 4 or 5 months ago. The real purpose for tonight is to introduce what we call AMI, Advanced Meter Installation Program. It's smart meters. With me tonight to actually do the presentation is Ronald Guerra. Ronald is a manager of AMI services. He is actually most of the customer care team that deals with any of the call center issues and customer concerns with regards to our deployment initiative. They all report to Ronald. So with that, Ronald's going to do the introduction of the presentation. And any questions, you're welcome to ask.
One note I'd make for the board is that there is information in the packet and under tab 6, which you may not always look at because that's the village manager's report tab. But there is information that you may want to follow along with.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I really thank you for the opportunity for us to come out here and provide some information about our great program that we have going on. I'm excited about it. I've been with the utility industry for quite a while, and I've never seen this level of change that I'm seeing in the past 5 years, right? So when you think about it, right, when you look at the telephone industry, how it was the state of China, and suddenly it went through all these changes that ultimately culminated in what we have now carrying with us, our lives in our pockets, right? So that's the level of change that happens in the telephone industry, and I think now it's our time with the utility industry. You know, you have to look back to the 1800s when, going to the 1900s, when we had Samuel Insull that enabled the transportation and distribution of electricity to the consumer. And over 100 years, that model has not changed. So you think about it, it's been quite a while, right? The model has been wires in the air, poles, delivery to your house. And now we're going through a very exciting time because the changes that we're going through are really for the benefit of our customers, right? And what I'm here to do is just to present a summary, focus more on the smart meters, and just to provide additional information as far as some of the benefits, because sometimes we are quick to focus on the operational aspects of our company and our efforts, but not concentrate on our benefits. So, as Carlos said, my department, my organization is responsible for going out, doing the outreach, education, information to our customers. I also have the call center whose primary purpose is to set appointments for our customers to install their meters, okay? This whole effort started about 2013 with the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act that allowed us to invest $2.6 billion into our system to benefit our customers. That was split into two parts. One part was the smart grid, right, reinforcing the distribution transmission system. Then the other part was smart meters. And I'm here more to talk about the smart meters. That's my focus. And our effort started 2013, Chicago, we divide Chicago in half, just for our convenience. 22nd Street, if you're familiar with Chicago, south of that is what we call Chicago South, north of that, Chicago North. We started with Chicago South in 2013, along with our Maywood suburban area. Then we went out with Mount Prospect Operations Center, and then our Glencoe Operating Center. And we keep adding operating centers as we go through. And now we've added Skokie, so we're part of the Skokie Op Center, and so we are continuing to deploy our meters. Out of the 4.1 million meters that we have on our system, we have thus far deployed 1.8 million, okay? And that constitutes about 40% of our meters, so we anticipate being complete with our deployment program by 2018. But you are interested in hearing about Glencoe, right? And so, yes, with Glencoe, we have over 3,000 meters. And the deployment plan is going to start in March of next year. However, we have gotten ahead, and there are certain types of installations that are a little bit more complex, where we need electricians that are beyond the technical expertise of our own technicians. And so we make sure that we involve them ahead of time. And for that reason, in Glencoe, we're anticipating completing about 15 meters before the end of this year. But the majority of the installations are going to happen in March. Okay? Now, one of the things that we do, and this is very important when you talk to other utilities across the nation, it's one of the things that they kick themselves, because it's one of those elements where they really don't consider the customer, right? Because this whole effort really is about the customer, right? It benefits the customer, whether it's a smart grid or smart meters, and therefore you have to consider the customer as you're deploying and executing the operational aspects of this project. And therefore, kind of lessons learned from other utilities, especially the ones in California, where they didn't include the customer from the beginning. So the fact that I'm here speaking with you, okay, and sending this message is what we're all about, and what has enabled our success. And so what I want to do is I just want to summarize one of the, it's a formula that we created and that we employ with every municipality that will be getting meters. And so it really starts out with 90 days before we're in the area, okay? So 90 days before we're in the area, we're already in contact with our customers. We send out, and I think that's where you have a copy of these items. We send out a notification, just informational, nothing complicated, just letting you know, hey, that this is what a smart home is. It involves smart meters, et cetera, et cetera. It gives you some advanced information 90 days before we're in your area. So right now, December 1st through this month, many of us in Glencoe have been getting this information, okay? Now, you get a little bit closer to the installation, and you're 60 days out. 60 days out, you get this information. So a little bit more detail, a little bit more information about what a smart meter is, what to expect, et cetera, and so that's what you get at that point in time. Again, it prompts questions. We start getting calls from our customers, but then when we're 30 days out is really when we start getting you more and more detail. We're mailing you the specifics about the targeted dates that we're going to be in your area, in your neighborhood, and along with some fact sheets, right? Just to make sure that you understand what a smart meter is, what it can do for you. And it also includes a phone number, again, to my call center so that we can answer any questions for you. And then 7 days before the installation, you will get a phone call and letting you know, okay, in the next week, we'll give you a timeline, we're going to be there. And we're going to be installing, and letting you know that it'll probably take about 5 to 10 minutes. If you have the type of meter that we can bypass, meaning we can keep your energy on, we will do that. Therefore, there won't be any outage. But if you are going to experience an outage because you may have the other type of equipment, then it will be an outage no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. And then you get that call, and then we're there. When we're there, expect a door knock. The expectations for all of our installers is to make sure that they knock on your door, ring your doorbell, to let you know that we're there, announce our presence, okay? And And then when we do the installation, if we find somebody at home, we provide them the details of what's gonna happen, remind them that may be an outage. Then we go through the installation process, and then we provide the customer with a, what we call a door hanger, saying just additional information for you. Now, if by chance we happen to be in a location where we didn't successfully install because we couldn't get access, we have another card that we leave behind, letting you know we were here, and we would like for you to call us back so we can make some arrangements so we can return and install your meter. So we provide these two types of communications with our customers. And then finally, after we do the installations, then 30 days later, you get a welcome packet with more information about now that you have your smart meter, now what can you do, and some ideas about how you can save some energy. Okay? So that is really critical to our process because, again, we need to make sure that we involve our customers along the way to make sure that we answer any questions, any concerns that they may have. Okay? So once we have all those meters in place now, as I mentioned, we have 8.8 million installed. Let me talk a little bit about the benefits. Okay? I'll start with the very general benefits, the benefits that you will get without signing up, without taking any action. One of the things that we have realized, especially in 2015, now that we have more of a mass sample, if you will, throughout our service territory, is it has helped us significantly with our restoration process after a storm comes through our service territory. Okay? And what used to happen, so I used to manage the operations. I actually had this area, including with Skokie Operating Center, Libertyville Operating Center, it goes from Evanston all the way to Wisconsin. So been there, done that. I had my crews out in the street that were responsible for restoring power. And I'll tell you, one of the more challenging aspects of the restoration comes towards the end where some what we call some customers that may be off of lines, main feeders. We focus on main feeders to bring up the majority of customers back. But if we have some customers that are off of those feeders that didn't come up, those are the last 10% that take us a lot of time to recover because we have to actually put boots on the ground to go find who is on or who's not. With this technology, now we can ping your meter, right? So we send a signal out to your meter and we know whether you have power or not. That has saved us a significant amount of effort, which has increased our productivity. Just to give you an example, to date, we have used that technology with our meters currently to ping about 17,000 meters. Now, that's 17,000 saved trips, because otherwise we would have to, what we call, roll a truck to that location to confirm whether that customer has power or not. Well, now, we know that just by pinging your meter and getting that information right away. So if we know that you have power, we don't need to waste a truck going there, right? That valuable asset can now go to actual restorations where people need the power restored. And if we find that your meter still is out, then we know that we need to send it to you right away. So either way, it's a lot more efficient than our processes in the past. So just right away, we're realizing without you just doing, you don't have to sign up for that. Just by having the smart meters, we're all benefiting from that. Okay? Now, we also, one of the other benefits of having the smart meter is that we don't need to read it manually. Okay? So we get the reads through wireless means, and which means then that we don't have estimated bills, which is a significant frustration of our customers. And so it reduces our estimated bills by a significant factor. Just in 2 years that we've been measuring this, we've already reduced 3.6 million estimated bills, and that is very significant. And then now we go down to the programs where you need to sign up, right? Because there are items where it takes our customers to be more proactive, but that's what we're there for, to educate our customers on some of the programs that exist. So let me just tell you a little bit about the programs that we currently do have. So when you get the welcome packet, it'll instruct you and advise you to sign up for a My Account, create a My Account on our internet homepage, okay? And what that does for you, you now have access to your actual usage. And why that is important is that it really changes behaviors. It really makes you realize when you're using your power, when you're not using your power, and where there may be opportunities for you to be a little bit more efficient with it. There have been so far about 15,000 customers who have signed up for that. We don't think that's enough. I think we need to do a better job communicating that out there to get more folks signing up for that report, as well as you can also sign up for high usage alerts, which means once you start understanding what your usage pattern is. I just got my AMI meter about 3 months ago. My wife was very excited. My wife doesn't work for ComEd, but she thinks I use power like I get it for free, and I don't, by the way. But together we've been realizing that, hey, yeah, maybe she's right. My toys are the ones who consume the most power. So so now so we realize where a good benchmark, a good target is, and then we set our target so that I get an alert when our consumption goes past a certain level, right? So that we can take some action. Hey, turn off those lights, or turn off that stereo that you're not listening to, or that computer, et cetera, all those little things which add up to a lot. So far for these high usage alerts, again, we have about 21,000 customers who have signed up. Not nearly enough when you consider that already we've had 1.8 million meters out there. So I think it's part of our effort to be better at communicating that to our customers so that we can get more sign up. We also have this program called Peak Time Savings. It's very popular. We just rolled it out in 2015. And we already have 60,000 participants. Now this is one where our customers, once you understand what your usage patterns are, what this program does is during our hotter parts of our year, we will communicate with you to say, hey, you sign up for this program, today's the date that we would like for you to cut back as much as you can. There's no penalty if you can't, but if you do, you get some credits, okay? So this has been very popular with a lot of our customers, and again, 60,000, not nearly enough. We're trying to get more and more folks to sign up for that through YouTube promotional ads, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, we also have the hourly pricing program, and as it states, you may or may not know that the electricity prices, they fluctuate throughout the day, throughout the week, and there are some customers that can take advantage of that. May have to modify some of their behavior, some of their consumption patterns, but certainly when electricity is very cheap at night, why not charge your car at night? Why not set your dishwasher to go off at night? Why not cool your house a little bit more in the summer so that you pre-cool it for the day, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some benefits that you can realize by having these smart meters. And with that, I'll pause right there just to take any questions that you may have.
Any question?
Well, as you get ready to roll this out, what is helpful from the board perspective? What can the board do to help ComEd have a successful implementation and get good energy adoption and demand?
What we can do is we can come back, so when people have had their meters now in place, what's usually good is for us to come back and just, now that you have some experience with the smart meters, maybe you have more relevant questions after playing around with it. Again, we're here through, the project doesn't end until 2018, so you can contact us and we would be more than happy to assist any of the customers who may have specific questions by referring them to my call center or my analyst that can go deeper into some of the questions that some customers have.
Let me clarify, just to make sure I understand your process for hooking up with the customer to put the meter in. I understand there's the number of mailings that keep talking about the countdown. When you get to the time when you're gonna actually go knock on the door, do you physically contact the customers before you go knock on the door so that they know with, say, between hours 9 and 12 today, somebody's gonna knock on your door? Or how do you handle that final hookup?
Yeah, it's through the, it's a 7-day window where we give you a call and say, in the next 7 days, we will be in your neighborhood. And just to let you know that you can leave your, gates open if they're locked, et cetera, and just kind of give you some general, tips on how we can best get access to it.
Okay, now, are your meters outside where people don't have to let you into the house to gain access to it?
Most of our meters are outside, especially in the suburbs. In the city, it's a different story. But we do have some other structures where the meter was located indoors.
And how do you handle the notification where they're indoors and where a person may have to make arrangements to be home?
So
You in.
that's where the reason that we knock every time, we don't make an assumption. The expectations for our installers are to ring the doorbell every time they show up to your property, whether or not they can get easily to your meter. Just to let you know, announce our presence that we're there. If we don't get an answer, we try to get to your meter and do the installation. However, if your gate is locked, et cetera, then we don't, we're not gonna do anything more than that, other than giving you the door hanger with specific information, who was there, what time we were there, and then call us and we can make an appointment to come back. That's the way we handle that.
Okay, so for somebody who has to be home to let you in, if they weren't home, you leave them that and they can call and make an appointment?
Yes, and we're pretty flexible with understanding people work, et cetera, we even make Saturday appointments if that's more convenient for the customer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are you representing ComEd?
Yes.
Or you representing another company?
No, I work for ComEd.
Oh, okay, because the reason, I hear everything, and I was wondering, if you promoting or you imposing. What is the difference between the smarts and the system meters?
Well, the main difference is what makes a meter smart is just its ability to communicate wirelessly to our company.
So it's just for your own purpose,
Yes.
not for the customer?
It's for, again, as I mentioned, one of the biggest benefits for the customer is the ability for us to know whether you have power or not.
So you asking the customer, or you imposing the customer to do the change?
Are you saying, are we asking the customer for, to allow us to change? Is that what you're asking?
If they agree to the change.
Okay, no, that's a good question. Part of the legislation that I mentioned early in my conversation here is the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act. That's the law that was passed late 2012, early 2013. And that law made it mandatory for the meters to be changed to smart meters. So it's state law that we changed that out.
To me, it seems to be very confusing because ComEd sometimes do provide good service, sometimes they don't. I've been living in Glencoe for the last 48 years, and I have very bad experience with ComEd. On my driveway, we have the line going to the neighborhood, and we have very dangerous situation. And I communicated with ComEd several times. The last time I talked to them for overnight on the telephone was Halloween due to the children walking around the block. And they sent the truck, and the person who was there, he was just boring, doing nothing. The danger that we have with that pool is that one of the lines is coming off the pool. And I've been living there 48 years. How come Edison did not come and correct the problem?
Tell you what, if you provide me with your name and number, I will make sure that, has that been taken care of first of all?
I I say I've been living there 48 years and we still have problems.
Okay, so it still hasn't been taken care of. So why don't we get your information and let's see that we need to involve the right personnel in order to take care of the issue that you're raising.
Because every time I drive out of my driveway, I just feel so sad because I see the light above me, And I say, how can this be possible for this large pump not to provide safety? It's like 30 inches of the pump, just ready to put on the sidewalk.
Okay, so let's get, I'd like to get your information so I can follow up with that. Okay?
I've been an electrician for 45 years, sir, so I know the ups and downs.
Okay, well, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate bringing that concern.
Any other questions?
The one thing I would add is that the village manager's office staff is in communication with ComEd staff on this particular issue, and we are going to help them get the word out as we approach March and that changeover time frame. And so we have a number of communication tools at our disposal that we will utilize to assist with the information sharing, and we'll continue to do that through the deployment and after as well.
I appreciate it. That's great. And let me know if we can do more on our end.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just a few more items under the village manager's report. I wanted to provide the board with a brief update on the status of the water system, water distribution system study. As you may recall, the board authorized a contract with Strand Associates earlier this year to provide a comprehensive analysis of the village's water distribution system. That's our water mains and related infrastructure. This particular project is an extension of the extensive work done by Strand to evaluate the village's water production options, which was presented back to the board in March of 2015. We expect to be able to present to the board in early 2016 the results of the distribution system analysis. As I mentioned, this includes a review of our water mains, our elevated tank, and other system-wide infrastructure. And generally, aside from the transmission of the produced water, doesn't have a relationship to the village's water treatment facility. However, this analysis is a component of that. It will be combined with the information that we gathered in the review of the options related to the water production facilities to allow for a better understanding of our overall water system needs in Glencoe, and most importantly, the costs associated with them over the next 20 to 25 years. We anticipate completing a rate analysis as soon as we have that detail, and we'll conduct further research into some of the other long-term costs to these improvements, but we will be bringing that back to the board for your information. I wanted to also mention that now we're nearing 2016. It's a couple of weeks away. Public Works staff are preparing to commence the construction process for 2 major stormwater improvement projects, as well as improvements to the village's Village Hall's HVAC system. Dave Mao is going to give just a brief overview on our progress with both of those projects. Dave?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, just an update on the bond fund capital improvement projects as the village manager outlined. The two largest pieces of the bond issue referendum from April were the Village Hall HVAC upgrade and the stormwater improvements. So just an update on each of those projects. The village's design consultant is presently working on construction documents on the various systems that are part of the comprehensive improvement to the Village Hall heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system to be upgraded. We expect to receive 100% construction drawings by late January and are targeting bidding this project out in February for a contract award consideration back to the board here in March of 2016. Construction of this improvement is anticipated to be completed over a 12-month period. With respect to the 2016 stormwater improvements, Engineering design is also well underway on the Terrace Court and Skokie Ridge Basin stormwater improvements, targeted to reduce significant and recurring flooding in these two neighborhood areas. As you may recall, these basins were 2 of 4 residential areas addressed in the 2014 stormwater drainage study. At this point, the Terrace Court Skokie Ridge improvements will be bid as one project in early March for a contract award consideration to the board at the March 2016 meeting. When design is completed on that project, final design will also be pursued on plans for the flood control improvement on the east side of the Village Hall at the Hazel Underpass. Construction for the Terrace Court Skokie Ridge Basin improvements is expected to begin in the spring and be completed by early fall of 2016.
Just one thing to add on that, and we're happy to answer any questions the board may have. We are going to be stepping up some of our information sharing with those neighborhoods to make sure they're aware of timelines and impacts to them while construction is taking place. For instance, how driveways may be impacted and things of that nature as people are trying to get back in and out of their homes during construction. But that will be part of our standard practice for our major infrastructure projects moving forward. And last but not least, the holidays are upon us. A couple of reminders relative to that. Refuse collection, both next week, the week of Christmas, and the following week, the week of New Year's, will be impacted by those two holidays. Crews are collecting refuse on regular Thursday collection days, so both of the eves, we will be collecting refuse those days if that's your regular collection day. However, if your regular collection day is Friday, we will be collecting on Saturday. And one other note, the Village Hall and some of our other offices will close at noon on both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And however, public safety will be manning their desk as typical, and will be on duty around the clock through the holidays. But we wish everyone in the community a happy holidays and a very exciting 2016. And that's all I've got on the manager's report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? All right. Trustee Barbara Miller, would you tell us what's going on with the Plan Commission, please?
We did not have a meeting. Our last meeting got canceled, so I will report next month.
Excellent. Okay. Trustee Dale Thomas, tell us a little bit about what miracles have been worked by Stella this month.
I could take the same out that Barbara did, but because we did not meet last month because of conflicts, we are meeting this coming Monday, and we will begin to look at the capital plan for next season. The miracle, I guess, this last month is again the weather, but this time favorable. We had 900 additional rounds in November over budget, which is significant, and I believe it's accurate to say that the first 2 weeks of December, at least before the last day or two, fall something above average. And the course itself remains open if playable, as opposed to the driving range, which is now closed. And that's it. Well, one other thing, there are lessons being offered in the winter inside, and so if any of you or anyone else wants to improve their golf game over the winter, that's an option.
Excellent. It's my understanding from staff that they thought the reason it rained so much this summer is that they wanted to save money on the salting budget, so Stella would require us to have good weather in November and December so she could up the total number of rounds. And it seems to have worked. Okay. Now, on to my report. Our next village board meeting will be January 21st. 2016, the new year is coming quickly. It will be the first meeting where we consider the first portion of our coming budget, and then a change. We have changed our February meeting to February the 4th, 2016, from February the 18th. for consideration of the final budget for next fiscal year. In addition, I did want to mention the situation with respect to grants. The Community Grant Committee met on Tuesday, December the 8th, to consider the request of the 8 community groups we normally support. As was reported by Trustee Bree tonight in his report on the Finance Committee's meeting earlier this week, our preliminary fiscal year 2017 budget, despite the work of staff to constrain our expenditures by reducing the projected expenditures for fiscal 2017 by nearly 2%, still anticipates the need to utilize a portion of our fund balance reserved to balance our village budget for next year. With that in mind, the Community Grants Committee discussed and deliberated the requests we received, which totaled over $90,000. We wish we could grant all of them, because all of the organizations truly deserve what they asked for. After due consideration, we are recommending that requests totaling $74,500 be authorized by the village board as part of next year's budget. This does include modest reductions in 2 annual contributions requested by the Chamber of Commerce and Writers Theater. We are recommending no change from last year's level in the grants for Family Services of Glencoe, the Committee for Senior Housing Aid, Glencoe Junior High Project, and the North Shore Chamber Arts Ensemble. We did round up by a few dollars to the next even number, the Glencoe Historical Society and the Glencoe Youth Services grant. A memo with the recommendations of the grant committee and the exact figures was distributed by the village manager earlier today. Excuse me. These amounts will be integrated into the village's draft fiscal 2017 budget, which the village board will consider at its January 21st meeting and then act finally upon based on what we do on January 21st at our February 4th meeting. I have asked the village manager to contact each of the organizations to inform them of these recommendations and to inform them of the meeting schedule where the budgets will be considered. I would like to thank all of our community organizations and the people involved for their constructive and active participation in this process. And most especially, I want to thank Trustees V and Trustee Trent Cornell, for their participation on the committee to determine what the grant recommendation should be. With that done, our next order of business is the consideration of the purchase of one 2016 Chevrolet police car and one 2016 Ford Police Interceptor. I would ask Director Lewandowski to give us the background of these 2 recommended purchases.
Sure, thank you. For your consideration this evening, as Village President Levin said, was to purchase 2 vehicles. In our yearly review of our fleet, we take things into consideration such as service history, wear and tear, repair frequency, and things like that, as well as mileage. The 2 vehicles we're intending to replace, one of them is a 2006 Ford Expedition with 152,000 miles currently on it, and the second one is a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria with 110,000 miles. Regarding the Ford Crown Victoria, in early 2014, during one of our floods, the vehicle sustained some damage, and we placed the engine in it to try to get some more useful life out of it. And at this point, we think it's time to replace it. Staff did some research regarding competitive bids that are out there. We got some pricing, and we're going with the lowest price for the 2016 Chevrolet Tahoe from Miles Chevrolet in Decatur for a cost not to exceed $38,854. And the second vehicle will be a 2016 Ford Police Interceptor SUV from Curry Motors of Frankfort, Illinois, at a total not to exceed cost of $31,445. The budget includes $100,000 for vehicle purchases for this year. We're spending roughly $70,300, which will leave us a remaining balance of $29,500 roughly. So it's well within the budget constraints, and we are requesting tonight your consideration and approval for us to enter into contracts to purchase those two vehicles.
Any questions for Karen?
I'm just curious about one thing.
Yes.
See, when the car and truck are purchased,
Yes.
is there additional costs to like outfit it? Or is that like come ready to go pretty much?
No, we have an additional cost of outfitting, that's why the residual money of $29,500 will cover that for things like striping, emergency equipment transference, and things like that. It is an additional cost, yes.
So the whole all-in comes under the budget though?
Yes, it still remains under the budget, yes, sir.
I also had a question about the usage. The number just struck me as being high, 100,000 miles in a 5-year-old vehicle. It seems like in perpetual motion and for very local use, so.
Yes.
How
Well,
can you
the-
help me rectify that, those numbers?
Well, these vehicles are used 24 hours a day, 365 days a year on a constant rotation, so they're used on various shifts throughout the day. So the mileage, even though Glencoe is a very small town, the mileage does rack up rather quickly. Because of our usage, we have a limited fleet, so we don't give vehicles a rest necessarily. We use them as often as we need to. The only times they're really down are when they're at Public Works getting some minor repairs. Otherwise, they're on the street servicing the village, so the mileage does rack up rather quickly.
I would add, in order to provide the level of service and protection that our public safety department does, we have vehicles on the street constantly, and they get tremendous usage. And that's why they watch them very carefully as they go through maintenance to determine when is the right time to trade them in. Other question? If there are no other questions, may I have a motion to approve?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Cornell,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Mulvaney,
Yes.
trustee Pierce,
Yes.
trustee Thomas,
Yes.
trustee Vree.
Yes.
Okay. The next order of business is consideration of the 5-year recycling service agreement with Lakeshore Recycling Systems of Morton Grove. And Dave is going to present us with the background on that, and then after that, Steve's gonna talk to us a little bit, because the current version, as in our packet, was for the opportunity at the end of 3 years, depending on what we do with our garbage and recycling, to terminate the contract early if we wanted to. And given some things with Winnetka, that's gotten changed to potential 2 years, and Steve will fill us in on that. Dave?
Yes, good evening again, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm before you tonight as the culmination of really 12 months of joint effort with village staffs from Glencoe and Winnetka. The village's curbside recycling contract with Groot Industries expires at the end of February. Groot has provided recycling collection services to the village since 1993 and has consistently provided excellent service. Recognizing the possibility of achieving cost savings through a joint contracting process, the village partnered with the village of Winnetka over the past year and prepared an RFP for the collection and processing of recyclable materials from all single-family, multifamily, and selected commercial customers in the villages. The RFP was coordinated by administrative staff from both villages. In addition to the administrative efficiencies gained through the development of a joint RFP, the villages each saved an estimated $10,000 in legal expenses with the shared use of Holland and Knight through Stuart Weiss. And Holland and Knight, as you may be aware, is the village attorney utilized by both communities. The goal of the villages was to select a single vendor to provide services outlined in the RFP. Although the villages issued the RFP jointly, each village reserved the right to select the vendor with the most cost-effective proposal, which could result in each village selecting a different firm. The RFP specified the following services be provided in Glencoe. Weekly curbside collection of recyclable materials for 3,000 single-family residences. Weekly collection of recyclables from 200 multifamily units and various municipal locations. Weekly collection from 30 commercial locations, primarily in the business district. Weekly collection from street-side recycling containers in the downtown business district. And lastly, recycling services at village-wide special events. The RFP requested separate price proposals for each village and all bidders were required to submit to both villages. The RFP required that the bidder provide pricing for 3 alternatives: collection and disposal with a bidder rebate program, collection and disposal with no rebate, and collection and disposal using the SWANK Recycling Incentive Program participation. On October 2nd, the villages received proposals from 4 qualified recycling vendors. Based on the proposals received, the villages opted to select the top 3 vendors: Lakeshore Recycling Systems, Groot Industries, and Advanced Disposal, for individual follow-up meetings to discuss in more detail the proposals submitted. Based on those meetings, the information provided in the proposals received, and the individual needs of each village, staff concluded that Lakeshore Recycling Systems offered the most favorable proposal for the village of Glencoe. Lakeshore Recycling has read the RFP and understands the scope of services the village of Glencoe has specified. Lakeshore proposes to use 1 automated vehicle 4 times a week for curbside recycling collection services. That's our current schedule. And the second Lakeshore vehicle may be partially utilized through the week in conjunction with the village of Winnetka to serve commercial and municipal facilities. Lakeshore proposes to use new diesel collection trucks initially, but have committed to servicing the village with new compressed natural gas trucks in year 2 of the contract. Lakeshore proposes to collect all single-stream recycling material in both residential and commercial areas and ultimately deliver it to their recycling facility in Forest View, Illinois. They have also outlined in their proposal that they have begun construction on a new state-of-the-art single-stream facility in South Chicago that they expect to begin operating in February of 2016. Next slide, please, Vic. The proposed 5-year contract with Lakeshore includes an annual CPI adjustment with a maximum annual increase of 2.5%. The new negotiated pricing with Lakeshore results in a year 1 contract cost of $194,400, which is an annual savings to the village of just over $21,000, and projects a minimum savings to the village of Glencoe residents of over $110,000 over the 5-year term. Other services and highlights included in the alternate selected for the proposed contract include a revenue sharing rebate program with floor pricing of $7.50 a ton, and an incentive plan if the village increases its annual tonnage by 25% from historical volumes that would lower processing fees and increase the floor pricing to $10 a ton. Based on the village's current 5-year average for recyclables collected, the Lakeshore rebate program will result in a minimum of $13,000 annually of revenue. The LRS proposal also includes the distribution of new 95-gallon recycling carts for all single and multi-family locations equipped with radio frequency identification, RFID technology, that will provide service verification and other valuable data for the village and for Lakeshore. Proposal also includes recycling collection services for all municipal sites at no cost. Recycling collection services for the downtown street cans at no cost. Recycling collection services for village-wide special events at no cost. And an expanded electronics and bulb, ballast, and battery recycling drop-off programs at no cost. Lakeshore Recycling is currently performing refuse or recycling collection services for the Chicago Public School System, a portion of the city of Chicago, the villages of Bannockburn, Deerfield, and Riverwoods, and beginning January 1st, the city of Highland Park. The references the staff has received have been uniformly positive, indicating that Lakeshore Recycling's level of service is excellent. So based on the results of a comprehensive RFP process, including the extensive review and analysis of operational plans and reference checks, staff recommends that the village board approve a resolution awarding a new 5-year contract to Lakeshore Recycling Systems LLC of Morton Grove for residential and commercial recycling collection services beginning March 1st of 2016. One amendment to the contract, as mentioned earlier, that was included in your packet, that should be included in the approval action, and the village attorney will advise on the specifics, is a revision of the termination for convenience language from at any time after the third anniversary of the agreement to any time after the second anniversary of the agreement. Mr. President, members of the board, before we open the floor to questions, I would also note that tonight with us from Lakeshore Recycling are Josh Connell, managing partner, and Bill Kenny, the municipal manager. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions, and feel free to direct any questions to Lakeshore. Any questions?
I have a quick question. First off, thanks. It seems like a great contract, and I think a lot of work went into it. My question is really about the composting, and was composting a potential service that could be added? I know there's some communities in the area that offer this ability to compost food waste for an extra upcharge, just as an add-on. Was that explored at all?
We did not as part of it. Typically, you'll see that as part of an offshoot of a garbage contract, not necessarily a recycling contract. So yard waste and composting was not contemplated as part of this agreement.
Am I correct in thinking that Highland Park has an upcoming agreement, I think with your company, that includes garbage, recycling, and compost?
Yes.
So it's something you offer, it's just not part of what we're doing. Oh, I had another question. The expanded electronics drop-off and the bulb, ballast, et cetera, that'll still be at public safety, just expanded hours? How does that work?
It'll actually be in the Public Works Service building.
I mean, public works, yeah.
And it's not only, we have advertised drop-off times, and we'll tweak that program a little bit, but it greatly expands the volume of electronics that we can collect in a given month. We continue to see, a fairly large participation in that. We see a large quantity of that goes out to the curb during our spring cleanup collection, so we're hoping, with the proper education on that we can recoup a lot of that, not see it at the curb in May.
So you mean be able to take computers, bigger items like that?
Correct. We do now. Because
you have to get an appointment.
We pay it now, and we pay for it now through our agreement with Swank. So this is an added enhancement, a benefit to us to have a larger volume provided at no cost.
Just how is the rebate calculated, and when is it calculated? How often? There was the $7 to $10 rebate. When do we know if it's kicking in? And
Again, it's the floor on that is $7.50 a ton. We average our historical volume is eerily accurate. We vary about 10 tons between 1740 and 1760 annually. So at a minimum, we'll recoup $7.50 a ton for our annual volume, and that's paid out on a quarterly basis.
Do we have any plans to help people recognize that if they throw it in the garbage bin versus the recycling bin, it actually benefits the village?
It not only reduces, because we're paying tipping fees on the garbage end, and we have the potential to recoup revenue on the recycling end. Absolutely. That's one of the things we're excited about is the ability with this RFID technology to better track participation in it's a mandatory service fee for every resident of the community, but it's not a mandatory participation in the program. So, our gut feel over the years is about 80–85% participation. We'll have a better handle on that, where we can target follow-up and education. And I don't know, Josh, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, one of our plans, and where we've been successful, is starting with schools, starting with kids, and they bring the information home. And it's also providing literature, even if it's on the cart. Sometimes we have a little door hanger that where we've got poor participation or a lot of contamination. It's education right there at the curb. And we found that in the city of Chicago, which is much more challenging, very different demographics. But even in nice communities like Glencoe, we find that education, you can't stop. You've got to continue with the education process. So we will have stickers for people that aren't doing the right thing. And we'll flag those carts. We'll still take it all and worry about the contamination at our facility, but at least we'll educate them on what the problem is and what they're throwing away.
And we've begun initial conversations, but the rollout plan is gonna be an important opportunity to be able to get a lot of that information out on what recyclable materials. People have been recycling, for 20 years now, and I think you get into a pattern on it. I can speak even from personal, where you don't know, you question, is it or is it not? And so we're gonna try to do a good job working with Lake Shore to get that information out early and often.
Other question? Steve, you want to address the...
Well, if you're inclined to approve this, you would, President Levin, entertain a motion to adopt the resolution approving the agreement with an amendment to section 6.4, allowing for the village to have a right to terminate after the second year.
Do I have a motion?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Cornell.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Vree.
Yes.
I want to thank Lake Shore for their work with our people in getting this put in place. We appreciate it. You did a great job. And I also want to thank Dave for the extensive work that they all did with Winnetka in order to put it together on a joint basis and to work with Lake Shore. You did a great job on this. Thank you. All right, our next order of business is the public hearing on Washington Place Special Service Area. And at this point in time, I would like to declare the public hearing open. The public hearing was duly noticed in accordance with the state statute on December 3rd, 2015 in the Glencoe News. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the question of the Washington Place Special Service Area? Since there doesn't seem to be anybody that would like to do that, I declare the motion, or I move to close the public hearing.
Entertain a motion. Entertain a motion.
Right,
I'll
can I have a
move.
motion?
To close
Second. Did I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's closed. Now, we're at the point where we should consider the establishment of the ordinance for the Washington Place Special Service Area. You all have had discussions on this in committee of the whole and in the packet and that. Does anybody have any questions, or can we proceed to have a motion for a roll call?
I do have 3 quick questions.
Go ahead.
First is, were all these properties, the 5 properties, all in unanimous agreement in this?
Yes.
Yes. And what happens if one sells? Is this, how is the buyer notified of this SSA? Is that a mandatory?
Runs with the land.
Runs with the
It'll be recorded against the property.
And so, and a sophisticated buyer can find, or is it something the realtor will disclose?
Well,
Right.
a buyer will be, will get title insurance, and this will definitely show up on a title report.
Thank you. That's
It should get disclosed in the contract too.
It's required to be disclosed.
Yeah.
And it shows up on their tax bill, so it's all automatic. With those clarifications, do I have a motion to approve?
Second?
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Cornell. Sorry.
There was one question.
Oh, let me back up, because I didn't see.
There are costs to the village for this.
There is not a cost to the village aside from the work that's gone into it from our salaried employees. The full costs of construction and legal and bond counsel are included within the total cost that will be spread evenly among the 5 homeowners over the next 15 years.
Restated in a different way, there's no out-of-pocket additional costs all of that's been covered as part of the tax.
But this does increase the village's debt, right? Even though we have a revenue stream, we're gonna issue a bond for this, is that?
There's bond issuance.
Bond issuance, I'm not sure if it counts against the debt limit, but it's a fairly nominal amount.
It may, it's not a general obligation bond though, it's a special revenue bond, and so it gets counted in a different way in terms of credit rating.
So it has I think what you're saying, it has a minimal impact on our credit rating. The village.
Well, virtually no impact on the credit rating, would if it were a general obligation bond.
Right. The way these kinds of things work, it's a revenue bond paid out of the taxes collected on the people that own the property that this applies to.
And the risk of a non-payment is on them. I mean, we will still be paying, but if an owner, a new owner, for example, decides they're just not gonna pay,
Well,
do we go after them, or?
It's levied against their real estate, it's it's collected by the Cook County assessor and the clerk, and the treasurer, and then it's, reimbursed to the village. They
It's
have
on-
the choice of non-payment.
Right, it's on the real estate bill just like any other tax that's a real estate tax. Having covered that, have we reached the point where we can have a motion?
We have a motion
Wait, you're in the
and a
middle of
second, and we just have to do a roll call.
Yeah, you're in the middle of a roll call.
Okay.
Trustee Cornell.
That's true, we
I heard-
took a point of order, I guess I should say, in the middle of the roll call. Roll on.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Mulvaney,
Yes.
trustee Pierce,
Yes.
trustee Thomas,
Yes.
trustee Vree.
Yes.
Alright. We're now at the place where we're about to have a public hearing on the 2015 tax levy that we had a hearing on last time. And so I hereby declare the public hearing open. The public hearing was duly noticed in accordance with the state statute on December 3rd, 2015 in the Glencoe News. Is there any member of the public that wishes to discuss or to address the board with respect to the 2015 tax levy? Would you come up to the microphone, please? And would you state your name and address for our record, please? Thank you.
My name is Isidro Ibarra, ISICRO, IBARRA, and as I stated before, I've been living in this beautiful area for the last 48 years, and we have a beautiful family. My question is, what's going to happen from now on? I do not was expecting after my retirement to be some changes. So my concern is, do the village of Glencoe planning to increase the taxes? There I have to do some thinking, because as you get old, you do not have the same income. And I'm very concerned due to my spouse. She is very stubborn, she don't want to sell. She's been here for 43 years with me. And I have no choice but just to swallow, drink another glass of water. And that is my main concern for me to be here, for the people who are retired and they do not have the same income. I am an independent person. I never rely on handouts. I have options and bias for help. But through my life, I decided to be on my own. I have two wonderful kids. They work color. They flying over the sky. And they tell me, good-headed, take my help. And I said, no thank you. I'm going to concentrate on my only income that I have. And I've been having this thing for quite some time. And this is the reason I'm still here. But if the taxes are going to be increased, then I have to think twice. Especially for, as I said, for people who are retired, you know. And sometimes, you know, we will expect illness. I just have my wife have a lung cancer removed. And I wasn't expecting to you people take under consideration the people on the low income. I worked with electrical union for the last 45 years, and they asked me, how can you live in Glencoe with this income? I said, you can do anything you want if you control yourself. I told my co-workers that I live in a ghetto of Glencoe. And they said, what? But if you got your friends, if you got your drinks, if you got your socializing, you can do it. And the reason for me to be here in Glencoe was to be education, system education. You know, so I thank God that gave me the blessing to be here. And I have two wonderful kids. My son is 40 years old. He's an MG, he's in oncology. And my daughter, she's 26. She got 3 masters, and she lives in Glencoe. But I'm bullheaded, I don't want to take them out. So you might gotta be able to give me some advice. So if you can help me, you know, just not increase the taxes, because other people are in the same boat. I'm not alone. So I will appreciate it, you know. And that's the thought that I get. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I would mention, because I think it's appropriate to give you as much as we can in terms of answers of that. When one looks at their real estate taxes, there are obviously many components to it. And the village represents approximately 14%, slightly more than 14% of the total real estate tax bill. So obviously we can't speak for what the county and all the water reclamation and all the other things, the schools and Nutrier and all the other portions of the bill. But the village is always very careful and tries to increase taxes the least amount possible while balancing its budget. And as to the specifics, last time, at our last meeting, we spent a lot of time, or a fair amount of time, talking about what is in this tax levy from the standpoint of the village. And my recollection is that we can increase taxes about 1.68%. 7.6. Okay. Dave may have in front of him the amount that comes to in terms of the amount of actual tax through the entire village that we put on, which includes the fact that the library sets its library portion, which is on our tax bill, but has nothing to do with what we do to operate the village. Dave, do you recall the
total taxes included in the levy, including the library and debt service, is $13,269,803, which is a total of actually a 0.92% increase and represents $120,767.
Okay, and that would be spread across the property tax value of the entire village. So it's a very modest increase in terms of what one would say, but it still is an increase. The real answer to your question, since we represent such a small portion of the tax bill, will come from what all the other taxing bodies do that represent the other 80-some%.
I can also say from a finance committee, it's one of our absolute priorities to operate from a financial standpoint as efficiently as possible, so we don't have to look to higher taxes for operating or for keeping the services of Glencoe operating. So it's of the highest priority for us as a finance committee to make sure that we do things as efficiently as possible, so we don't need to look to higher revenue so we don't have to lean towards higher revenue ways of providing services.
And I would mention, as I talked earlier about what's going on with the state, and that the village of Glencoe operates very much like a corporation in the sense, a normal company, that we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what is the best way to deliver the services that our residents require and want at the most cost-effective cost and level. Just as we were talking about our contract that we just bid out, where we worked with Lakeshore, and the services going forward for the next 5 years are at a lower cost than what we were paying up until that time. So we try always to see what is the most cost-effective way to deliver the services and things as part of how we do things. In addition, we spend a lot of time working to try and protect the revenues that the state collects for us and get them to actually go ahead and pay them to us as they're supposed to, so that we don't have that added burden that we have to pass on to our residents. So we spend a lot of time thinking about the very things that you're talking about, how to do it in the best possible way for our residents.
But you also speaking in general. I'm speaking about the seniors. Cannot afford, but we used to afford.
And we have a lot of seniors.
That's what I say, exactly. I'm not alone in the same boat, I'm in the boat.
Correct. You are a
So we
very
don't want
important
to lose
part of the
ourselves.
village.
I'm not speaking for myself.
Correct.
See, a lot of people need it.
Yes. We are very cognizant that one of the grants we approved tonight is for assistance for a number of seniors who without those grants would not be able to remain in Glencoe. So it is a top of mind priority when we go through these things to look and make sure that we are thinking about our seniors.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything that they would like to add in the public portion? Okay, if not, no other comments, I would like a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the public portion of the meeting is closed. All right, now we're in the place for consideration of the ordinance for the levy of taxes for the fiscal year beginning March 1st, 2015 and ending February 29th, 2016. Let's see. Beginning March 1st, actually 2016, and ending February 28th, 2017.
It's right.
Is it right?
It's right, it's, you levy the taxes.
Oh, we're doing, that's right, the levy from the prior, okay. So I got it right the first time, not always, so I got it right the first time, for the village of Glencoe, Cook County, Illinois. Is there anything else that you want to say with respect to the background of that data?
Just briefly, there has been notice of this meeting in October. The board established this tonight as the hearing. This tax levy was discussed in November by the Finance Committee and by the village board, and it was also reviewed as part of the budget at the most recent Finance Committee meeting. Included is a letter and documentation from the public library president presenting their approved levy also.
Okay. Any questions? May I have a motion to approve?
Second?
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Vree?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the last item of business, which is for the board to go into closed session. And so I would like a motion for the president and the board of trustees to meet in closed session pursuant to section 2C21 of the Open Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the minutes of closed sessions of the village board, for approval of those minutes, and for the semi-annual review as to what should be approved or disclosed. Can I have a motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mulvaney?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Vree?
Yes.
Thank you.